Good point. Thank you. After all, yes. Good evening. Thank you very much for bearing with us for the delays. It's a little bit of a sound problem. But, it's like being bumped up the ladder in a hotel when your room isn't ready, right? So it works. And thank you for bearing with us. So this is the Town of Barnstable, Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission on April 19th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. To all persons deemed interested or affected by the Town of Barnstable's Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission ordinance under Chapter 12, Article 3 of the Code of Town of Barnstable, you are hereby notified that a hearing is being held at Town Hall, 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Mass. Selectmen's Conference Room, 2nd floor, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, April 19th, 2023. Please note that this meeting will be recorded and broadcast on Channel 18 and in accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, subsection 20. Anyone taping this meeting to please make their presence known. I would also respectfully request that you silence your cell phone so it doesn't interrupt or turn them off, vibrate, or whatever else. Thank you very much. So I will now call the meeting to order. So Commissioner Hinckley Needham?
Here.
Commissioner Clark?
Here.
Commissioner Cronin?
Here.
Commissioner Doherty?
Here.
Commissioner and Chair and Clerk Despotopoulos?
Here.
Commissioner and Vice Chair Kay, he is absent. He did let us know he could not make it. And I, Commissioner Powell, Chairman, is also here. So the meeting is now called to order. Special guest, thank you very much for coming. We welcome you. We do have a new advisor tonight who's helping out, and if staff could say who they are.
Good evening, Kate Maldonado, Assistant Director of Planning and Development.
And Karen.
Karen Heron, Planning and Development, Principal Assistant.
Thank you very much. Nothing on the trainings tonight. We are going to be doing something on the awards at a later stage. There is correspondence, but it's not general correspondence. It has to do with one of the applications we have tonight. So we'll take that in just a moment when we start that. So we're going to move on. We got the commission's purpose, proper procedure. I think we're all up on that. Every once in a while it's necessary to do a reminder. I don't think that's necessary tonight. New business. The Cordial Eye and Hyannis Public Library at 401 Main Street, Hyannis, map 326, parcel 013, the Community Art Wall. Who is representing that, please? Hi, would you like to step up and sign in, please? And if you need a hand with the map and parcel, we can give that to you. Or we'll fill it in afterwards for you. Okay, so in order to be heard, if you can push your mic on, and if you could tell us your name, please. You should have a green light. Oh.
Beautiful. Thank you. My name is Mary George, and I'm the co-executive director of the Cordial Eye.
My name is Anastasia Pacella, also co-executive director of the Cordial Eye.
And we also have with us Amanda Converse, the board president of the Hyannis Public Library, and she'll be contributing a little bit later on in our presentation. Ready to go? All right. Well, good evening to everybody, and hello again to those of you that we saw last year. So to review what this wall is, we are proposing the creation of a pilot community art wall. So a pilot 1-year approval is what we're seeking tonight. Be approximately 12 feet high and 35 feet long, created by affixing plywood to brick and managed by the Cordial Eye Gallery and Artist Space with the Hyannis Public Library, with support from key stakeholders in the neighborhood. So what is a community art wall? So community art wall is a living exhibition space that can be built upon by both professional and amateur artists alike. And in fact, our project plan for this wall will include the commissioning of professional work on the wall, as well as a variety of community invitation. There are only 3 other community art walls in the state of Massachusetts, so it will be something that is novel to this area and will make Hyannis an even more desirable destination for professional muralists and artists in the region. And this particular wall was conceived of by a local resident and Sturgis West High School student, Will. He's going to be with us a little bit later on in our presentation as well. So this wall will be unique from other community art walls, both in Massachusetts and elsewhere, in that it will contain sections for commissioned professional work, as well as free expression space for the art of any community member, whether they're children, young adults, or seniors. So the goals of this project are manifold. One is that it encourages a thriving multi-generational arts community. So as we spoke about before, any community member is welcome to participate with adding to the art that is on this wall. And we also have plans for a variety of community programming to bring together different demographics and stakeholders in our community that might be interested in pursuing collective creativity. This project will drive foot traffic to Main Street, which will have a lot of positive economic externalities for the other businesses in our community. It promotes increased activity and dialogue between community members and the Hyannis Public Library. The implementation of this project will require direct interface between library staff and those who care to participate on the wall. And this is a way to welcome new folks into the world of what the library is doing, and for the library to also in turn learn from what is on the minds and hearts of community members. And something that we think is really important is this type of initiative really decreases instances of vandalism in communities. So there, we referred to a dissertation study when we were researching this wall that did studies of legal art walls all over the world, in North America, Australia, and in Europe. And what was found is that illegal graffiti in communities is just really decreased by having a designated place where folks are able to practice this style of art. And from our colleagues at the BID, we know that remediating graffiti in the community is something that takes lots of resources every month in this community. Our proposed new location for this wall is on the east-facing side of the Hyannis Public Library, kind of diagonal to where we are right now and pictured here in the slide deck. So you can see there's kind of 4 segments of this wall that are separated by these like vertical window panels. So each one of those brick segments is about 8 by 12 feet and will be covered with 4 by 8 plywood sheets to both protect the building and ensure quick removability if the need arises. The windows will be covered with also like a contact paper type of material that will protect that. So implementation of this wall, as we've already stated, we'll be affixing plywood panels to the side of the building. And we have a group of volunteers on deck to perform this labor. Professional muralists will be commissioned 4 times each year to paint the wall, as well as to provide lectures and workshops to the community regarding public art, and that will also invite participation. So we've been calling them community paint days in our project plan. This is new to the project. There will be a sign-in and sign-out process at the library's information desk, which will be facilitated in the 3 languages available at the library, English, Spanish, and Portuguese, and that will permit community members to work on the wall. So they'll have to go in, sign in, provide some sort of identification, and will receive something like a lanyard that designates that they're working on the wall at a given time. And that gives us a little bit more accountability and monitoring for who is working on the wall at any given time. Community members will be welcomed to partake in this process during the library's operating hours, with a request process available for anybody who might want to participate in an after-hours slot. And in addition to this, there are surveillance cameras that are directly trained on the wall, already installed at the library, as well as facility staff that will be monitoring the wall on a daily basis. Stacey, do you want to talk a little bit about community programming?
I'm the visual artist of the two of us. Mary is a performing artist, so she typically takes on outward, speaking engagements. But through work with different mural artists that we know, there's a lot of interest and a lot of desirability in the communities that they work in to be, teaching our children and community members, like, how do you do this well? So we already are working with the bid. I don't know if you're familiar with the First Fridays events that they're planning through the summer months, and I think up to December. But through the summer months, we are planning to have artists available to add on to supplement these First Fridays, and have artists available teaching and letting people see, like, what is this all about, and get involved. Did you want me to say more? No. I got nervous. Okay.
And also with the proximity of the Cape Cod Toy Library's Play Oasis, there's really ample opportunity for engaging the youngest artists in our community. And in addition to that, we found an exciting new collaborator at the JFK Museum, where we're devising some complementary exhibitions that will sort of create some cross-pollination between audiences at the JFK Museum and audiences at the Art Wall to hopefully build toward a more integrated, educated community. And so we're have strong plans in motion to work in concert with established events already going on in our community to enrich them and provide added value for both our community members and our organizational partners. Operations and maintenance. So the Cordial, I will be managing the artist commissioning process, community programming, and serving as a general point of contact for oversight and maintenance of the wall. Our information will be on the signage if anybody needs to get in touch with somebody regarding concerns or questions about the wall. We will have an MOU between the Cordial and the Hyannis Public Library that governs all of the procedures and delegation of responsibilities according to the wall, as well as any procedures for, any unexpected events that might arise, kind of what the phone tree is there. The installation is designed to be temporary, so that's that plywood again. So any given section can be popped off at any given time should a need arise, and can be replaced with a fresh sheet of plywood. And the space will be monitored on a daily basis by the Hyannis Public Library's surveillance cameras and facility staff. Community support. So the project has garnered the support of a lot of wonderful partners, including, as we said, the library, Mass Development, who has funded the initial seed money to get this project off the ground, the Art Department at Sturgis High School East, the JFK Museum, Love Live Local, the Hyannis Film Festival, local business Seaside Selections, the Hyannis Bid, and artist Joey Mars, who is one of our artists that we plan to commission for work on the wall, as well as provide a free community education event. And there's been significant public investment. And so this 35 letters figure, a lot of that is from our previous iteration of this project, where those of you who were on the commission at the time may remember we had really significant community support. We were able to get a few folks to repeat their effort there. But we'd like to invite at this time a couple of other collaborators on this project just to share their support and perspective on it. So Amanda, if you would.
Sorry. As Mary said, my name is Amanda Converse, and I'm the president of the Hyannis Public Library Board of Trustees. And on behalf of the staff and the trustees of the Hyannis Public Library, I just wanted to read a statement that we put together about our support for Cordial Eye's community art wall. A community art wall embodies many aspects of our mission. As a cultural and informational hub, the Hyannis Public Library is committed to cultivating a strong and stable connection with our surrounding community. The library's mission is to embrace diversity, inspire creativity, stimulate intellectual curiosity, and facilitate lifelong learning by providing high-quality resources, programming, and services to all. The Hyannis Public Library believes that the community art wall installation is a good fit for many reasons, both creatively and practically. The art wall will strengthen our connection to community groups who may not have felt welcome or drawn to spend time within our walls by sharing an alternative way to be represented in the library, one that can reach people regardless of whether they even know what the library does. Along with the obvious aspects of diversity, creativity, and intellectual curiosity the wall will represent and stimulate, the library can also support complementary programming to present the history and critical analysis of text and image-based street art, artist talks, and a forum for moderated discussions about this ancient but perennially controversial art form. The JFK Hyannis Museum and the library are excited about the idea of collaborative programming around the many aspects of street art, which can help expand the relevance of both of our institutions to modern and diverse audiences. And then Mary's spoken of this already, but from a safety and security perspective, the outer wall of our Twombly wing of the library is ideal. The building is kind of drab and a little uninviting, and so we think this will breathe new life into a tired space, attracting people to the library and to the library's outdoor play oasis. The library is open 6 days a week, including several evenings, meaning we'll have the opportunity to educate people about the wall constantly and also keep an eye out for unwelcome activity, along with facilitating artists' contribution to the wall as outlined by the Cordial Eyes presentation. During both open and closed hours, we have security cameras that record activity along the side of the building upon which the wall will be installed. Security lighting is on all night, and we have the ability to review security tapes if necessary. And we also have a maintenance person who is responsible for checking the perimeter of our building in the morning for safety hazards and can address any inappropriate additions to the wall immediately, even before the library opens. We also love content creation. So we don't want to be a space only for classic literature, but for our own community's thoughts and words, and for displaying and educating about the literacy of all things, including art, public ideas, and the power of the diverse voice. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'd also like to welcome at this time the real brains behind the operation, Will, who is the artist that originally conceived of the idea of a community art wall here on the Cape. And we wanted to, if you want to sign in here, Will, we wanted to invite him to speak a little bit about why this project is important to artists, particularly young artists in this community, and the impacts that we believe it will have. So you can just introduce yourself and share.
Hello, I'm William Kalo. I'm a student at the Sturgis West Charter High School. I am an artist. I've been an artist my entire life. I'm going to pursue art in college and in a career. I believe very heavily in the power of art and the importance of art in fostering community. I believe that art is an essential piece of expression, a style of, a part of communication as important as speech. I want a wall here, a community art wall here, because I believe that what this community can create on it will be beautiful. I think the expressions that are possible on this wall are expressions only possible through that wall. The collaboration and the intermingling of professional and amateur artists, the communication between people with the intention of expressing will foster the development of ideas and the sharing of understandings that is difficult to find in other places. I've visited a wall in Cambridge, Monica Way, a few times now that's of the same concept. And each time, not only did I think the wall was visually beautiful, but I was met with the art of dozens and dozens of people, not just already present, but people that were there actively creating. I was able to see a variety of different styles, different approaches, different messages being conveyed. I've been working with this project, and I've been passionate for it for over 2 years now. And I am beyond thankful to my friends and family, my students and teachers, you all of the commission for getting this project to where it is now, for the Hyannis Public Library, for the cordial eye. There is a lot of passion and support and willing artists behind this project who are eager to see it through and eager to express themselves and share to each other in ways that are otherwise difficult, without the need for a portfolio submitted to a gallery or a museum, the ability to create and share art easily just through the desire to share art without boundaries and walls, pun not intended, walls in place. I truly believe in the beauty that this project will create, and I hope that you will as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your passion, artistic passion with us.
I think, yeah, that's all we have in regard to our presentation. So we'll be glad to address any questions and or concerns.
Okay. So, Mary, correct?
Yes.
And Anastasia, am I butchering that?
Anastasia.
Anastasia.
You turn your mic on, Cheryl?
I did. I got to get it closer. Right. So what I will do is open it up for questions for clarification to the other commissioners, and who will have their mics on a little bit closer. And then I'll ask the staff for a report. I understand that Kate is well prepared for that. And then what we'll do is we'll open it up to public comment, if that's all right with you. So, commissioners, any questions on the presentation for clarification?
A couple things. With the art wall, you're going to manage, the corporal eye is going to manage what's on the art wall. I'm really concerned with what's going to get on that wall, okay? What is your vision of what you see on that wall?
Well, our vision is that it becomes a place of collective community creativity. And so exactly materially exactly what that's going to be is something that we're not directly managing. What we are overseeing is ensuring that there is no obscenity, there's no hate speech, there's nothing that would be considered offensive to a average community member, especially thinking about young folks walking by, and having procedures in place to immediately mitigate that should there be any instance of profanity appearing on the wall. But in our research on this subject, it's not a problem that comes to pass very often, particularly in an area that is so well surveilled with posted guidelines around content.
We're in a historic district. When I think of art in a historic district, I think of history of Hyannis, townspeople that created this town, celebrating them. When this is going to be in a parking lot where tourists come in and everyone comes in, and what's on that art wall reflects Hyannis, okay? And the people coming into that town and parking there don't know it's an art wall. They just think it's art and it's reflected by Hyannis. And you say no hate speech, obscenities, depiction, you're going to monitor that. But how do we stop it from getting political?
My understanding of that question is that it's really not the prerogative of this committee to enforce that would be a violation of free speech to try to enforce that. I would say that I'm in agreement with you that wall should be a reflection of Hyannis, and that's exactly what we're trying to create, is a medium where we are reflecting the creativity of the community members that live here. And I think that I would respectfully offer that aerosol art and community free expression space is one of the most historic art forms of all, that has been around for millennia in varieties of different communities worldwide, including ours.
You know, we're a free society, and, you know, but we're a society of rules also and regulations. You know, we drive on a highway, but we're not allowed to drive drunk. You know, we go down to Calmus Beach and we're not allowed to drink or bring our dog or play Frisbee or go play baseball, which is a whole other issue. But it's the truth. We're a country of laws. And we're a country very divided right now. And I would love to see something on that wall to unite us, okay? Not put up someone's, an individual artist's feelings, you know. That's an individual artist saying something that the whole community is going to see. So I still would like to see restrictions on what's going to go on that wall. And I know you're making a face, but to me it's very important, you know, and it's free speech, but we don't need any more animosity, and we don't need any animosity in Hyannis. And people will reflect Hyannis with that what's ever on that wall.
And, you know, to reiterate, dictating, if it's of a political nature, is still not part of the Historic Commission's purview. That said, we really can't be a united community if we're not in dialogue with each other. And so this type of expression space can facilitate that type of dialogue and create an understanding, you know, through conversation with the artist. Like, when do you ever get to be with the artist while they're making their work? You know, when do you ever get to hear what's on their minds as they're creating? When they're right outside making with you and inviting you in.
When they go into the library to register to get on this wall, do they tell you what they're going to write at that point, or they tell you any idea of what's going to be on?
Nope, that's not currently part of our procedure for that. And again, I want to reiterate that we've done extremely extensive research on this type of community art wall in communities both here in Massachusetts and elsewhere. And the things that we tend to be afraid of, that if we give our community this kind of freedom, if we offer them this kind of trust, that it's going to blow up, it so infrequently happens. And in reality, I mean, there's illegal art that goes on in this community all the time. And we're not seeing those things now. And we're actually offering like far more control over that art form than currently exists in the community. So I would urge the community to reflect upon the, you know, the various safeguards that we are putting in place to make this a place where like the true mission of this is building a more integrated, unified community.
One other question. This is going to be for 1 year. What happens in the winter? Do people paint in the winter outside in the cold? Or?
If they want to.
Oh, yeah.
Put on some gloves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have to remember in this room. Any other commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Hinckley Needham.
Hi, I just have a concern. On page 44 of the guidelines for graphics and signage, the last thing it mentions is murals in the Hyannis Historic District are discouraged. So how did we get to this point if murals are discouraged?
Discouraged does not mean not allowed. And
That is true.
we encourage you to respond to the voice of our community. You know, we're a historic community, but the community of today becomes the history of tomorrow. And we want to make sure that the full gamut of humanity and expression in this community is able to become part of our narrative. And so, yeah, we just encourage you to consider that.
Clever answer. Any other commissioner? And actually, good point. Good point. Commissioner Cronin.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for that presentation. And oops, I turned it off. I have a couple of other concerns similar to what has been said, and I think that the project is wonderful. I think what your passion is, the student that you had speak, and I really do feel that passion, as well as all of the other artists and people who really want to participate in something like this. But from a historic standpoint, I think that it just encourages to, it is Hyannis. I hate to say that Hyannis is different, but it is unique. It does have its own unique issues, especially where we aren't able to monitor what they consider art or what their free expression would be. I think it's an opportunity for us as a community to do something like this, but not on an outside wall in a parking lot or where in the historic district. I think if you could look at options inside the library, bring people into the library who maybe haven't done it before, you can still have that same expression. You could still keep within the passion, I think, but it without having the ability to determine what's going to be stated. I think it's a free speech. I think that that's their, any artist is going to tell you that's it's going to be their interpretation, or it could be what they're feeling as an expression. And we don't want to have to, restrict that. And I don't see how you can control it within a, especially in this historic district coming up from that, especially the library on that parking lot side, any side actually that's facing the public, something that you may want to consider either outside the historic district or internally. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? I always leave myself to last. Nope. Staff input on this, and I'll go after the staff.
Thank you, Commissioners. Kate Maldonado, Assistant Director of Planning and Development. I do have a few comments on behalf of staff. The community art wall will support a more pedestrian and vibrant and active district, bringing more people to our downtown. As the applicant has discussed and as reflected within the draft conditions, which you have before you this evening, the applicant will monitor and maintain the art wall, and there is buy-in from the property owner as well. As discussed, this will be a pilot project. The draft conditions note that this will be for the duration of 1 year. And the draft conditions also mention and relate to security as well as safety, with the condition that there will be the security lighting and cameras on site, and there will be ongoing management, and there is collaboration among the property owner and the applicant. Thank you.
Are you wishing to speak?
Please.
Okay, Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Clark?
Thanks. But Kate, like, who is the gatekeeper of what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, what is hate speech, what is not hate speech? Because if that comes up and someone has their work removed, what's hate speech to me may not be hate speech to Mark or to Cheryl. I mean, we may have very different interpretations of what is appropriate or inappropriate. So how, as a town, a commission, a historic district, do we kind of keep ourselves out of like a liability issue on that?
If I may, I would like to note that within the draft conditions, I think there is a condition that sort of relates to your comment, in that it mentions that upon continued complaints received, the chair of the commission may require the applicant to attend a regularly scheduled meeting. So if this were to be an issue, the conditions do reflect that we could have a further dialogue, and this is to be a 1-year pilot. And I'm sure that if the comments were presented, we could work through with the applicant to make sure that those, whatever was seen as, a complaint could be remediated immediately in collaboration with the applicant.
I want to add to that as well that the nature of an art wall like this is that the work is completely ephemeral. So there's no liability as an organization or that the library has to protect anybody's artwork that is up there. Like, it can be covered up by anybody for any reason at any time. And so, we're, if one of you sees something that you don't like, you're welcome to come out there with some spray paint and cover it up yourself, So this is just to say that there's no I don't think that contributors to this wall being upset that their work was covered up or removed is something that we really need to devote a lot of concern to, just because the nature of this wall is that work can come and go, even professionally commissioned work, and the type of artists that do professional work in this style also know that the nature is ephemeral and that anybody could contribute to it at any time.
Thank you very much.
But to Matt's point, who is going to make that decision of what could be covered up and what shouldn't be covered up? Shouldn't there be guidelines? And I think that's what we asked the last time.
Yeah, I mean, we do have some guidelines in place there about explicit content, hate speech. I believe there are legal definitions regarding like what constitutes hate speech, discriminatory language toward protected groups, obscene words, graphic depictions that, you know, are not family appropriate. Yeah, I mean, I think we would be happy to create some more explicit guidelines if that's desired, but you know, I felt like we tried to cover the majority of what might be deemed offensive by a typical community member.
Perhaps I can do some clarification now. Tom, I believe you were a commissioner at the time that this originally came before us a year or two ago.
Right.
You were on the commission at that time.
Right.
Mark, were you at the time? I think we're the only ones remaining from that commission at that time.
And I think we did ask for guidelines.
We did. That's what
specific
these
guidelines.
are
Yeah.
here. Because I think Karen very wisely took them from the guidelines we had before. And then the application was withdrawn. I don't know what the reason was for that. But to be honest, I was sorry to see it go, and I'm glad you came back.
Thank you.
My daughter's an artist, as I said last time, and I kind of get the whole artist thing. And I do have the pleasure of being in the presence of an artist when they're creating their work, when she visits. But I think let's go to some of the questions I had, and then we'll go to that. Some are just clarifications. Don't let me forget to do this, please. So, again, thank you for coming back. The location has changed. It is in a better location. I like it.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that you've added on to sign in a lanyard so you know who's going to be there. I don't like the idea that anyone can come by and just spray paint something out, but that's the whole reason that we had put in before cameras and then it's monitored. I'm so glad to see that the JFK Museum is in. Could you please clarify, you're going to choose an artist every 4 months, is that
On
right?
a quarterly basis. So every
It
3
is 4
months, we
months.
plan to have a community event that includes a commissioned piece of work.
Okay. And there's 3 in the state of Massachusetts. You had mentioned that you had visited one, the young man, I'm sorry, where are the other 2?
There's one in Beverly, and I believe there is one in Gloucester. I think that's where the
Okay,
third one
thank you.
is.
And it's nice that it's for any community member. You're right that last time we were very concerned about the graffiti and what could be put up there. And to clarify some of the political stuff, it kind of combines with the hate speech. And I think I gave the example of prior to that meeting, I had seen some other artwork, and it was very gruesome, blood, killing people, knives and all that stuff. I would consider that inappropriate because you want to foster, as you say, it's a community, it's a family community, and I agree, people's art is people's art, but you also have to bear in mind that there may be children and things where it would be inappropriate for exposure. That's my opinion. The contact material on the windows. Now, we had that in an office where I used to work, and the contact material, you couldn't see out the windows then. Is this
We would be looking at transparent contact paper so that if there was overspray, it could just become peeled off so the windows would remain.
so it's not preventing light in the
Oh,
light?
no.
And that wasn't a particular concern of the library. And the executive director, Antonia Stevens' words, I don't think there's a way those windows could get any uglier. So,
Good to know.
Yeah.
He might want to come before us to see if he wants to update the windows store. That's another day. So every 4 months, it was said that art should have no boundaries. I do think there's, when it's in a community, it needs some boundaries, and that's where it's addressed in these, which I think are very workable. So, for instance, like no knives killing people and this kind. Where the political thing came up before is we did not want it to be used for, some of the examples, as I recall, was a politician can't pay to have that whole art space to say, please vote for me because my competitor is horrible. That would be inappropriate.
Right.
And political on, and I won't, because we are a community and we don't want to make anything difficult, to put down various political figures. Somebody makes a mistake on doing a project, something else. So to be careful on the political, and that's why that part is in there to come before us if it's inappropriate. And Kate, you're absolutely right. That's what that was intended for. And I have to thank Karen Herron because before I had sent her a text or an email asking if we could have that list, and she had already done it. So thank you very much. So I think that's I will comment, when you say it's not in our purview, it is in our purview in that part of our purview is to protect the character of the town. It's the historical character. But again, I think it's totally workable, in my opinion.
My comment on that was just from the last time we presented, the same concern was voiced, and the town representative at the time had indicated that it was not the commission's purview to restrict free speech in that way. So I'm just repeating
I understand.
what was said
But
at
not
that
to be
time.
used to hurt people or groups or races or anything like that, if you see where I'm going with that. In other words, it's not used to harm. Okay, so those are my comments. If none of the commissioners, opening it up for commissioners again, anything, if you have any further comments, Commissioner Cronin?
Question, yes, on one of the, or clarification. It says the painting outside of the library operating hours is not encouraged, but it's not prohibited.
We would be generating a specific procedure if there were community members that had barriers to accessing the wall during library operating hours. So for instance, folks that had work schedules that do not permit them to be there when the library is open, to have a way to connect with the library to get special permission to do so. So there'll be a process in place for that. And with that, the camera surveillance of the library is something that happens on a continuous basis. So we do have quite a bit of oversight at this location with what's going on at the wall at any given time. And that also will be indicated on the signage that we've proposed, that this area is surveilled.
And I guess that's kind of where the point is, that the operating hours, and they close what, till 9, did you say, or?
The closing hours vary. They're open 2 evenings a week until 7 p.m. And then most of the other days, I think, until 5, and they're open 1 weekend day.
So managing that at night would be, you have cameras and surveillance, but nobody's watching those cameras and surveillance while people might be using it as well. So I could see that as being after the fact. You come in the next morning and you have some artists that want to do what they want to do. And we do have graffiti around town, which I don't, with all due respect, I don't see it's going to stop it. They might encourage it because they said, I can just do it right here.
That's actually not what the data shows. So the data shows that it really decreases acts of vandalism outside of the designated area. But I will say, that's why we have all of those other guidelines and safeguards in place. It's not just surveillance cameras. It's also the sign in, sign out process. It's also having stencils available to cover things up immediately. It's having plywood that is immediately removable if there were some emergency situation that required that. So we're trying to take a multifaceted approach to creating something that is community building rather than community dividing.
Thank you.
And this is, it's the library, and we had previously approved, correct me if I'm wrong, the children's play area to the side, correct?
Correct.
And that was part of the reason for the cameras on that, to help protect it and keep safe that children's play area.
Correct.
Any other commissioners for any further? Okay, I'm going to, any other staff, anything else? So I'm going to open it up to public comment for anyone that wants to speak. If you could come up, sign in, and It's not required, but if you wish to speak, and then
I'm
we'll go
here.
to deliberation.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Wendy Northcross. I have to say, I helped to create this historic commission, and this is the first time I've been in front of you, so that's really kind of cool. I am actually a resident of West Barnstable. I'm a co-founder of the JFK Hyannis Museum. I'm its current executive director. This is what I call actively retired, working on the museum. But I'm here in support of the project. The JFK Hyannis Museum is the direct neighbor to this project. My office is on the second floor overlooking the parking lot. I can't even see where this community art wall would be. I have a great view of the playground, which has been really well appreciated by the community, as have the picnic tables. Very, very popular picnic tables. But in working with the Hyannis Public Library, we're hoping to do a couple of things more closely. We have new space on the second floor of the museum that we couldn't use during the pandemic. It was a renovation that was done in February of 2020, but now it's a public community room. And we've been working with the library about cross-programming with the art community wall. One thing that we've been talking about is the mission of the JFK Hyannis Museum is not only to promote and preserve the legacy of President Kennedy and the Kennedy family in our place and time, but also to increase civic engagement of our community. And how do you do that, whether it's small children or retirees? We all have a responsibility as citizens of a democracy to actively participate. And we think this community art wall could, in fact, trigger examples that would need to be discussed by multiple generations. Is something that I wouldn't say is controversial, but it's an expression that could lead, that would perhaps be considered political, maybe not vote for me, but could be a symbol of what it's like to live in a democracy and some of the conversations that we have to have there. So that's just one example of how we see the museum interacting with this community wall and public library. The other thing I wanted to share with you is that just a few weeks ago, I was in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico, one of the oldest colonized places in the Western Hemisphere, and stayed in an old inn that is an art gallery too, and it actually overlooks a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And between the inn, this 425-year-old building, and this incredibly dense downtown with very interesting historic buildings, but between this inn and this UNESCO World Heritage Site, the El Morro Fort, is a community art wall. And it was one of the most photographed things that we saw. We stayed there for a week, and people would come by and were photographing themselves in front of this community art wall. And throughout the whole community of Old San Juan, which dates back to the 1500s, there are instances of community art that were, in some cases, provocative, in some cases messy, but they were highly photographed, and they were very, very popular. And in one case, one was very well protected since 1985. So I got very excited to see that, and I did see examples of something that maybe was inappropriate, then was then covered over, so maybe understand a little bit better how that might work here. I think this community art wall is proposed for a really smart location. It overlooks the comfort station. It overlooks a parking lot. It doesn't have, the direct neighbor would be the post office coming and going, delivering mail, people going to the bathroom, people parking to enjoy Main Street, and I don't think it's going to hurt anything. I think it's going to be another example of the vibrancy of Main Street. Now, will it be perfect? No, nothing is. But I think that I'm going to channel President Kennedy and First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy here. Art was very important to them. Culture was very important to them. And American art and culture was extremely important, and they were huge champions of it. So we'd like to be champions, too. Thank you.
Thank you. So anyone else from the public comment? Yes, please. If you wouldn't mind coming up, signing your name, and then letting us know your name, please. Sure.
Hello, thanks for the opportunity to talk. My name is Dave Killo. I'm Will's dad, and I'm actually an employee of the town of Brewster. So, hello from the east. Just to start, I guess it's my opinion that if given the opportunity, Hyannis artists will immediately create something distasteful and meant to divide us. I think that's sort of I understand fully the hesitation around what might appear, but I guess I have faith in what will be created there. Commissioner Earl, you said tourists won't know it's an art wall upon arriving in town. I think that would be obvious right away. I recently visited Cambridge, Mass. As a tourist and Burlington, Vermont as a tourist, and both of those cities had lots and lots of public art. And to me, that did, yes, represent those cities, and I found it to represent those cities as a vibrant, art-forward community. And I found it to be exciting to see such a thing in those cities while I was visiting them. Street art is temporary. We talked about the ephemeral nature of it, and I think that is one of the fundamental features of street art. If you think about the world's most famous street artist, Banksy, right? People will chip his art off of walls because it sells for millions of dollars. Or another person will come and paint right over it. And neither of those actions are disputed because street art is meant to be temporary, available for a very short time, and viewed in public, which brings me to my next point. I think something like this would reach people who might never step into a museum, or might never go to a gallery, or might never be exposed to art in person, besides something that they see on TV or in a movie. And I think that's a great way to introduce art to folks who, like I said, might not consider that a leisure activity for their free time. Of course, I'm in support of the project because Will is my son, and I know these wonderful people. So just thanks so much for your time, and I think it'll go well.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, please. And unless I'm wrong, I believe you came to speak to us the last time.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you guys. I had the honor of being here the last time that this came around, and I just wanted to give my perspective as a resident of Barnstable. I live pretty much just right down the road, and I also attend school at Sturgis East, so I'm on Main Street all the time. And I just wanted to sort of give my opinion as someone who absolutely would contribute to this art wall as much as possible, because I, like Will, am also an artist, and I'm going to be pursuing that in the future when I go to college. And I would just be so excited to have this as a part of our community, because Hyannis is an absolutely beautiful place, and there are so many beautiful people here, and they all have so many interesting things to say, and I know so many amazing artists who would love this opportunity to use their voice and to add something beautiful to the community, and I just really think that this is something very unique, and it would be something to bring our communities together, and it would give us the opportunity for outreach and for sort of community involvement that we really don't have anything very similar to around here. And the whole thing I think would be amazing, and I personally would love it because I love painting on really huge surfaces, and it's really hard to do that because I have nowhere to do it. So this would be an incredibly exciting opportunity for people like me, people like Will, and just so many young artists who want a place to express themselves. And again, I just think the community would benefit so much from this, and it would be such a beautiful addition to everything that we have here in historic Hyannis. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming back. Anyone else? Same procedure, please sign in and then tell us your name, please.
Sure, thanks. Uh-oh, this pen is failing. Oh, no, we're okay. All right. Hi there, my name is Craig Florence. And I appreciate being here and you guys' time. I'm a local artist. I've lived here all my life. I grew up on the Cape. And one of the, I guess, things that I experienced as a young artist was sometimes difficulty finding, space where I could express myself or I could, create the art that I wanted to. And particularly, as somebody that was, from a lower income household, there weren't always the same opportunities. And a lot of kids like me, or kids that, probably would have spent their time doing more positive things, I saw, get into trouble here or there, or whatever. So I see this as, now I'm a father, too, so I see this as, an opportunity for young people on the Cape, and I mean, obviously other age groups as well, but I mean, to me, that seems really special. It seems like a great opportunity that I don't think, the community should miss out on. And yeah, I mean, the Cape does have a very long history of art, of all different kinds, including muralists, so check that out. And I don't think it's out of character. And I believe that, speaking of character, just like the gentleman before me said, I have a lot of faith in the community. I know there's people who have political views or whatever, but I mean, generally, I don't, I see that as kind of like a fringe element. And generally, I tend to think that the average Hyannis citizen is going to come out and, just create something beautiful for themselves or their family or their kids or whatever. They might decide down there. I can also tell you from experience, I was fortunate enough to take a cross-country trip with my kids. And, we visited a bunch of different cities. And one of our favorite things to do was view art walls. And I cannot think of an experience where I saw anything that was vulgar or any vandalism to the current installation that I can recall, or that would have bothered me with my children seeing. Actually, they were they were just really great. And it becomes sort of an attraction, something that we would seek out. And I think that could happen here too, which of course would be positive for tourism, I suppose. Anyway, I just wanted to say a few things. I totally support this, and I would love to see it happen. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone, before I invite anyone else up, can I just clarify, because you mentioned kids. Are kids going to be able to, is there an age or?
Absolutely. Any community member can contribute to this wall. And in fact, we have plans specifically for community events with different organizations and entities that serve youth to be able to contribute, including the Play Oasis.
Okay, so they don't have to be in an art school or an art
Nope,
class?
this is
Okay,
completely
just wanna make sure on
democratic
that.
space.
Okay. Any others for public comment? Nope. Okay, I will not close public comment. I'll try to come back to it before we actually go to a motion. However, we have received correspondence. I'm going to read a couple, and then our clerk, Commissioner Despotopoulos, will read the others. So the first one, if everyone can hear me, is from Katie Beatty. To the Hyannis Historic Commission, my name is Catherine Beatty, and I am a resident and mother of 3 from Barnstable. I am writing to express my support for the Hyannis Community Art Wall as proposed by the Cordial Eye. I believe that this project will be a benefit to the arts ecosystem of downtown Hyannis, as well as an attraction that will drive traffic to the area and its businesses. The wall will serve as an invaluable resource for community building and artistic development. This project also offers an innovative solution for the illegal graffiti issues in Hyannis and will save thousands of dollars in local resources, which are currently dedicated to cleaning up tagging. Please vote yes on the permitting of this wall and all the positive outcomes it will bring to our community. Respectfully, Catherine Beatty. You want to do the next one, then I'll go to the third one?
Well, it looks like Abigail Brady basically said the same thing on the heart of the letter. Because if you look, it's the same thing. So it's basically the same exact, basically, right. So
Okay.
I'll read, want me to read
Go ahead.
Karen Cahill's?
Sure.
My name is Karen Cahill. I am a year-round resident of Hyannis. I am a homeowner and live at, I'm not going to give her address out, writing in support of the community art wall being proposed by the Cordial Eye. I think investing in local art as well as supporting artists is an excellent way to reinvigorate Hyannis Main Street, increase clientele, and ultimately help local business owners. Thanks for your time.
Okay, the last one is from Ann Villano. I hope I'm not butchering that name, no disrespect intended. My name is Ann Villano, and I am an artist milspouse who recently moved to Barnstable and am an art teacher at the Cultural Center of Cape Cod and plan on volunteering more downtown Hyannis. I am writing to express my support for the Hyannis Community Art Wall as proposed by the Cordial Eye. I believe that this project will be a benefit to the arts ecosystem of downtown Hyannis and an attraction that will drive traffic into the area. Yeah. It's pretty much the same thing, but from a different person. And we respect all the people wanting to think, and sometimes we know that they want to find the correct words, and we very much appreciate the letters of support. Going back to public comment anymore? Okay. Any more from staff?
No further comments from staff, but please do, when you read in the motion, reference those draft conditions, whether you
Yes.
are including them as submitted or with any modifications for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so commissioners, how do we feel about it? Can I ask you to read that part again about the murals?
You know, just one thing, you know, the art wall's a great idea, okay? I lived and born and raised in New York City, okay? I've seen good art walls and bad art walls, okay? And I think that's why I'm such a stickler with this being in the historic district, okay? Where I need more than faith. You guys know the artist, I'm not an artist, all right? I just need more faith, and I've seen bad artwork, you know, and I'm not saying you guys are going to do bad artwork, but it could happen, okay? So that's where I am on this situation.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
I just, again, want to encourage a reflection on the many different kinds of safeguards that we are putting in place with this project, which in reality is far more control over this kind of art happening in the district already. And I want to encourage you to step out on faith. You know, I know it's not a word we use in local government often, but we live in a community full of beautiful people with beautiful things to say, and we believe in the power of this project to really make members of our community who feel very not seen, very not cared for, they don't feel like they belong here, they don't feel like they can have a future here, to know that local organizations, that the local library, that our local municipality is in support of creating a place for particularly young artists who very much struggle to make a life here, to feel that there is something that is responding to the need and want that they are really clearly expressing. We just really want to double down on encouraging you all to consider that and to have faith in these good people.
You know, you brought up these points, so you're really following the Cordial Eye mission statement. So this will be a reflection of the communities that you represent. Okay, that was not clear. Okay, you know, again, it goes back to me and the way I feel about this thing. I'd love art that we need in this town that would unite people. You know, we can point out atrocities all over the world. We can talk about the atrocities in Ukraine. We can talk about the girls' schools in Iraq 2 weeks ago that were all burned. We can go on and on and on with atrocities. In a historic district, I don't know, maybe we just want good feeling art, okay? If we're just following and we're gonna go after, you know, your mission statement of the groups that, you know, and I'm not very important. I think it needs to be opened up to more then, not just the core July mission statement.
Open up to more than everyone in our community being able to add to something?
Yeah, this
Who's
wall is a
everyone in the community?
completely,
I don't know who everyone in the community is that's gonna take part in this. It's gonna be controlled, it's gonna be really managed by you and the artists that you know. And
well, and anyone in the community that wants to contribute to it.
I think we need more guidelines on this.
What additional guidelines would you like to see
Of what
proposed?
exactly, when you're going to say, what is obscenity, what is bad speech, we gotta just, it's not gonna, is it gonna be,
What is that question? What is obscenity to you?
what is it to
I'm
you?
asking, I'm asking you. You have concern. I'd like to know. so
It's
we can
curse
do
words,
that.
the F word, things like that.
Absolutely.
But it could
Excuse
be
me,
other
if you're
things
going to
also.
speak, if you could come up to the podium because you're not on mic and the public cannot hear you. So we could keep it to where it's done in an appropriate manner.
Thank you for that
Thank
correction. I think that there are existing definitions around what obscenity, hate speech is, depictions of violence, depictions of graphic content. And I do feel like we have both guidelines that we are like self-imposing, things that we'll be looking out for, as well as Kate mentioned before, in the draft guidelines, the opportunity for the commission to call us in, for reasons, for concerns of that nature. I don't, it's hard for me to understand what more reasonable safeguards we could put in place that would not be completely restricting what the spirit of this project is, which, as we have heard, the community is speaking so deeply in favor of. And, you've referenced several times, sir, that like, this is just me, this is just the way that I feel about this. And we're all entitled to our own feelings, but is the goal of this commission to be defending what, any member's personal feelings are about this, or is it to be representing what is healthiest for our community?
Commissioner Despotopoulos.
Yeah, well, if we're going to go down that road, which I didn't really want to go down, this is a historic district. I don't see how that's historical. If we're going to play that, because you keep coming at us, and I don't like that. This is historic. We could easily say, it doesn't fit historic guidelines. And I have reservations, too. Again, you guys are great. You guys are doing excellent stuff. How do you police the public? I don't know how you do that. And I don't know how you get around that. That's my only concern. Again, this is a historic district. We could do this wall anywhere. Why in the historic district, if that's what we're going to do? So I have a little concern there.
I think that's my main point, too. It doesn't belong in the historic district.
Commissioner Cronin, I saw your finger hovering over there. Did you?
Again, I think that if we step back and you look at all the points that you're saying, there's nothing that you're saying that we don't agree with. Whether it's on this board or as a community, I just think that we are a historic district, and I think that if there are other opportunities for you to be able to do that without restricting what its purpose is, because if we vote no, you're saying, well, you're restricting our purpose, and that's not what we're trying to. We're not trying to express that. I think the passion you have and what you want to achieve is there. I just think that there could be other opportunities for you to be able to do it without doing it in the historic district. And you don't want to have to restrict the what's on there, but then you're also forcing us or the community to police it for you. How many times are they going to say, oh, well, you know what, I don't like what they just put on there. And that's not what we want to do. We don't want to have to come back to you all the time and say that. Is there an opportunity, I asked before, to be able to put it indoors? You're saying that you're not having people do it at the end after not use the wall when the library is closed. So most of the time it's going to be there. Can you bring it inside? Can you put it in another location in town at the community center where you have a lot of wall space and there's a lot of kids and there's a lot of diversity of our community over there that participates in the different programs throughout the year. So I just don't want you to think that, I mean, clearly the murals are not encouraged, they're not accepted. We could just go on that. I just think that I do have some concerns of policing it to the point where the free expression is not going to be able to be held because it's somebody's art, it's somebody's doing something, and somebody could find it not something they want to see on the wall or see, and it's, again, that's my concern.
Commissioner Hinckley Needham, can I ask you to just read that part again, because I think it was very clear it was only discouraged.
It says
that whole paragraph.
Right, murals in the Hyannis Historic District are discouraged.
And what section is that? in?
It's page 44 of the guidelines for graphics and signage. And there's also an appropriateness of color, like colors that you're going to be using. Not bright.
Can I respond to some of this just on behalf of the library? First of all, I know that the guidelines say that murals are discouraged. There are murals in downtown Hyannis, so they do exist and they have been put up. So I did just want to speak to that. But in terms of the, what the art wall, the content of it, and the library's role in all of this, the Hyannis Public Library is one of the oldest institutions in Hyannis, in downtown Hyannis. We have been invested in this community for a really long time, and we would never do anything or participate in anything that would harm this community. In fact, we want to participate in making it more inclusive and vibrant. And right now, that building is not vibrant. And as Kate pointed out, having the art accessible on the outside of the building it lends itself to being more pedestrian friendly, which is something that we definitely want as an economic development driver in downtown Hyannis. It's also making the art more accessible to everyone, and not just people who go inside of buildings, which we find to be really important. I think this is a pilot, and we're just asking you to take a chance on it. Just try it out. And if that means we come back and, after the first quarter, I really think that a lot of these concerns and these fears are going to be unfounded. I think it's going to be a beautiful thing for this community. So we're just asking you to take a chance, and we can come back in a quarter and see how it goes. And I promise you that if anything on that wall is, the library cares so much about what goes on inside and outside of those walls, and we would never let anything stand up there that we didn't feel was appropriate for this community to see.
Thank you. A question for staff, please. With regard, just to clarify the color issue, yes, we do have an abundance of colors that are the historic colors, but it's my understanding that pertains more to buildings and so, for instance, people's art displays or with the displays within their windows don't have to conform to those colors. So it would really be towards buildings, structures, outside, and signs and things for that. Is that not correct?
That was my question.
That would be my understanding as well, because there would be a lot of colors in a painting. It would be a little bit difficult to
exactly.
assign a certain color for.
So we would not, that would not have to be on a restrictive thing for this.
Certainly, and the guidelines are guidelines. While it may mention language about the murals, it is guidelines. You as the commission at the end of the day are able to interpret the proposal and make your own determination on it. And if there's any discussion about any modifications to the draft conditions, as has been discussed, I do think that the conditions were quite thorough and relate to a lot of the concerns of safety and security. But if there were any modifications, we can always discuss that as well. I just want to mention that to the commission.
Thank you very much for that clarification. I do have something to say, but I always like to give the commissioners an opportunity to say what they have. Yes, Commissioner Cronin.
With regard to the murals that are there, I believe the murals that are up there did come before the historic prior to, and the content was discussed and reviewed and approved, both on the wall it used to be I think it's still Bradford's, gone down on Pleasant Street, as well as the murals that were put on some of the buildings down on the waterfront. So you're right, they did come before the historic, but they did approve the content, colors, and what was appropriate for the area and the historic value of that. So those were done as well. Thank you.
But I believe those are permanent, right? So that would be.
Could you please say your name?
Sorry, Amanda Converse, Hyannis Public Library. Sorry. So I feel like because those are a permanent piece of work, they would go through this whole process.
And sorry for interrupting you, just so you know, speaking.
I have one more question. Who will keep, who will you complain to if you don't like something on the wall? How will you keep track of complaints? Who will you tell about the complaints?
The signage that we've proposed lists contact information for the cordial eye for any questions or concerns around the wall. So we'll be managing any concerns in the community.
Thank you. Any others before I put my 2 cents in? Okay. So you're right, it's a pilot project. We do have the draft conditions that when it first came before us, which we can go over and we can adjust. These are simply what we came up with before that was okay for the pilot program. What I will say is I like the fact that it's at the library, because before it was kind of like an alleyway type thing, which had its own character to it. But in the library, it makes it more of a community. And this is only my opinion, and I'm only one opinion on this commission. The library is a place of learning, but it fosters culture, it fosters art, community, sharing information, and stories, and historic stories. I'm not saying the art has to be historic stories. I'm saying that's one of the things that art does promote. But art is another way of telling a story, as any artist will tell you. Is it telling you, this is a portrait of my dear mother and my family or my child? Is it telling you that this is my beloved, animal, cat, dog, whatever, that had acrylic or whatever else? Is this a story about something historical and the founding of Hyannis and the beginning of Hyannis? There's so many different stories to tell. Some you don't want told. But I personally would like to see if this is done, that there is a record. I mean, it's my own input. I can't tell you what to do. But if you're going to do that and you have a library, why not do a book of the contributions?
Archive of it.
Just a suggestion. But the means of complaint, I think if you're monitoring it and you are coming back, because if it is time limited, and if there are complaints, that's why we put that in there. We can call you back, and we will be looking at it. And if there's something that's totally inappropriate, and because you're going to be monitoring it as well, you will know if it's something that we're going to say next year, this was a disaster, and we received 50 complaints from the community, and 2 kids got very upset and all that. I think you see where we're going with it. It does say no, discourage murals. It doesn't say it isn't. I have seen murals all over the world. I've seen them in Paris, Italy. I was just making a list of the things here, just off the top of my head. London, Berlin, Lima, Kuala Lumpur, Madrid, Barcelona, Oslo, in New York. And they usually express the positive. There are some which I thought, why on earth did you allow that? That's stupid. And it's hateful, and it's totally inappropriate. And I won't bring my kids here again. But the thing is, you don't want that, because you want the community to want to come, to want to be a part of it, and to not go there and think, we don't want our families to go down there. You don't want to discourage people to going on the main street. So it's in your best interest to keep it clean, right? That's my personal opinion on it. I am going to open it up again to public comment. So I have closed public comment and go back to the commissioners and see if we want to make a motion, which case beforehand I will close public comment. And we can, on the final discussion, we can say if we are interested in doing it, let's, before the motion, go through this list and see if we want to adjust it, bearing in mind that it does have to come back before us, and if there's any complaints, we can ask respectfully that the representatives come back in. How do you feel about that? Does everybody feel okay about that? So we're going to go through this list. Yes, everybody have one?
The one that's before us.
Yes, this is what the commission came up with last time, of which you're probably well aware of as well,
Okay.
right? Did you get one, Matt? Do we have an extra one, Karen? Anyone not have one? Can you pick up one for Matt in your travels, please? Okay, so this is what the commission came up last time. So the draft conditions for consideration of the community art wall for the Hyannis, this will be now for the Hyannis Public Library, 401 Main Street. The first one, grant a certificate of appropriateness is for 1 year from the date of endorsement of this decision. Anyone have a problem with that, or you want to make it 6 months, or what would you like to? Well, you should make it at least 2. If you're going to make, it's only 3 artists that are going to be up there, 4, 8, 12.
I'm more inclined to not go a year before we readdress it.
You want to reevaluate in 4 months?
I think that's
8
a better
months?
idea. I think 4.
Okay, that's only 1 artist, though. Yeah, oh, that's right, okay.
The
They
guest
act-
artist
they
is
act
every quarter,
collectively,
but
so-
there'd be, 4 months would give you, well, it depends on the time of year when it starts, so too.
Well, 6, you'll be into the second one, but you won't have feedback on it. What's the proposal? Tom?
Can we go back to it after, or can we
Yeah,
table
we
that
can go
one?
back to it. So
let's go
I'm going
back
to
to
circle
it.
that one. Okay, that the community art, so keep it in your mind, think about it, that the community art wall shall be conducted substantially in conformance with the application and materials provided along the eastern exterior wall of 401 Main Street. Okay. That the community art wall shall be installed using wood panels. Said wood panels shall be removable and replaced when necessary. Okay? Please object if you have any objections. That the excess material shall be stored within the structure at 430, 438 Main Street, is that correct?
That's still right?
Yes.
Madam Chair, can I just have clarification?
Absolutely.
As we're going through these draft conditions, I'm confused. If we're not objecting to them, they're staying.
Well, I
I
think
thought
that-
we would look at this as a whole, because like the position is on plywood on the building, on the outside wall.
Point.
I'm,
Good point.
just because I didn't say I didn't object to it, doesn't mean I'm accepting it either. I thought we would just go through to
That's
see
a
if
good
there was
point.
anything we were going to just understand and then go back
Okay.
and
If I
determine it.
apologies, if I may, point of order.
Sure.
I think the discussion is to walk through the conditions, and then when you do the final motion, you will say, including the draft conditions, either as submitted, so not making any modifications, or modified. Just throwing this out there, the point that you've discussed is a modification to the duration of when it would come back before the commission. So if you walk through, and then whoever makes the motion, if there is any modifications to the draft conditions, they would relay those modifications when making the motion.
I think also what it is there's a couple things that I make the mistake, and Commissioner Despotopoulos nodding his head, is making the mistake that we had heard it the first time around. And with full respect, there are 3 commissioners here who did not hear a few of these points, so we'll just ask you for clarification on them, okay? So I'll go back to the wood panels, because that has not been discussed tonight. Community art walls shall be installed using, I think it was barely touch on, using wood panels. Said wood panels shall be removable and replaced when necessary.
Madam Chair, going back to the second bullet.
I got that, and I'm going back there too. I'm just kind of working my way back
Oh,
up.
okay. Thanks.
So could we have somebody clarify that, please?
Yes, that we would be creating this all by affixing plywood to the brick of the building, so that artists would not be painting directly on the building, but on these pieces of plywood affixed to it, which would ensure prompt removability if necessary.
Which will be, can be removed and can also be restored for a art conference later that has the last 2 years worth.
Auctioned
Whatever.
off to the highest bidder. You know.
There you go. That might well be mom and dad, you know. Okay, so we have to go back up. Community art walls shall be conducted in substantial conformance with the application of materials provided along the eastern exterior wall of 401 Main Street. That is in the application on the location. You okay with that?
No, because I'm looking to see if there's any modifications that we could do by bringing it inside the library instead of having it on the outside. That would be my concern. So how do I address that through this?
Well, we'll come back to that one.
Okay.
1 year, are we okay with that?
No, I think we can discuss a shorter time.
Okay, we got it. Okay. Applicant shall monitor and maintain the community art wall on an ongoing basis. Any problem with that?
You missed one.
That the excess materials shall be stored with, no, we already had that.
Oh, you did, okay, yeah.
That the applicant shall monitor and maintain the community art wall on an ongoing basis. I have no problem with that. I think that's required. Yeah. That the Main Street Business Improvement District has agreed, and they did because I was there and I heard them do it, to assist in the monitoring and maintenance of the community art wall. Now, there's nobody from the bid here tonight. Can we make that conditional that that is still the case? So that would be a condition. That the community art wall shall have security lighting and cameras on site. Yep. Stop me anywhere if you don't. That the applicant shall monitor the wall for obscenity, hate speech, explicit content, and immediately cover it up. I would also say, we did go through this before, political promotions, political degradation, which would be inappropriate. I understand that there is an art there, but it's also, it can be regarded as the other term there, offensive to some people. So it should, since it's a community, it should be mutually respectful and that not have anything political that's that can be obscene for some people or insulting.
Like slander.
Yes. Well, yes, slander, but also.
I mean, I think that, again, that comes to discretion. The applicant, in this case, the applicant is the Cordial Eye, or is it the Hyannis Library?
Co-applicants?
Because it says the applicant, so I think if the Hyannis Library may come in first, but it's the Cordial Eye that is the applicant now.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, you're right. You're right, the applicant.
And
Cordial
I
Eye.
think that that's where,
Good point.
to monitor the wall, I don't know how that happens without them being on it 24/7, because you're going to have to, which is not going to happen.
But they'll see it each day, except for maybe on Sundays, and they will be monitoring it because it'll come to our attention if they don't. I would make a proposal that everywhere where it says applicant, Cordial Eye, be put in there. Good point, I hadn't thought of that. That the Cordial Eye shall have stencil, now this is something that didn't come up
I'm
tonight.
just,
Oh, sorry.
again, back to that, I kind of have how do I accept explicit content? Explicit content, again, is how do we determine that?
This is very subjective.
Yeah.
It is subjective.
It's like we said, what is a curse word to you and what is a curse word to me? It's two
Yeah.
different things.
Would you like to hash that out? I would like to
With all due respect,
feel better, I would like to do that with
she shouldn't be talking in the
Yes.
seat.
We can
If
do
you
that
could come to the
anytime. We can
microphone,
go back
please.
and
Not
forth
be
on
there.
obscenities, you know.
Let's stop.
I
That's
mean,
not, that's not what we want to do.
He's here.
I had left public comment open, so I'm going to let you
Oh.
answer, but in the future, please raise
no.
your hand.
Okay, it's okay. I mean, there's pretty standard definitions of what obscenities and explicit content in these things are.
Yeah, I mean, we could reference something like the FCC's guidelines for explicit content, you know. I think that there's a pretty good common understanding of, you know, what kind of words and what sorts of depictions fall under those, but we're more than willing to create more specific definitions around that.
Okay, thank you. Which means we would want them to come back with that. So that would be something to come back on. That cordial eye will have stencils that had not come up tonight to cover up unwanted content. So anything that was offensive or found to that would be immediately covered up with the stencils. And this is only going over the last one. We will be making amendments. That the site shall be maintained for trash and debris and clean up daily at a minimum. That upon the continued complaints received by the town of Barnstable, the chair, I think we will have to reference what continued means. You know, how many, like 3 or something like that, or 4.
And by the town of Barnstable, how is that supposed to happen?
So complaints by residents of the town of Barnstable.
Again, subjective. I think that this is just not clear as to what
True.
we're allowing. Continued complaints, is it 3, 5, 1? Could be
As
1.
I said, we need to specify what
And then received it by the town of Barnstable, but I thought that the applicant and other people were monitoring it. The town of Barnstable's not.
as
part
I
of
say,
this?
residents of the town of Barnstable.
the
Or-
it says continued complaints received by the town of Barnstable.
Yeah, we're going to address it. So complaints, not continued complaints. Complaints by the town of Barnstable, and I would say 3. What do you think?
I think it could be 1.
3? Okay, well, then we'll do 1. Okay. That the wall utilized for the project shall be restored to its original form upon expiration of the decision or no longer wanting to do it. That the changes to the community art wall program project shall come back before the commission to determine whether a modification of the decision is required. So that means that if we feel that we missed something, we can bring you back for modification. If we feel that something needs to be tightened up. Is that fair? Okay, that is just what was originally gone over. So there's a few things that need to be addressed there. I agree it's subjective, but it's on many points. And I wouldn't like it if this were a one-time deal, but I think because it's a limited project, and if we bring it back to review it and see what we think, and I only have one voice here, you know. So, Tom, you're thinking. I can see.
The cordial eye is managing it, and you say it's open to all artists. And say your work will probably get firsthand, you know, to get onto the wall, first pick. And are you going to leave a certain amount of space up for all these people, other artists that are going to walk in and come in?
Yeah, so the geography of the wall is 4 equally sized panels. They're about 8 feet wide and 12 feet tall. One of those panels will be for sort of the quarterly professional level artists that we'd be bringing in to contribute to the wall, and the rest of the wall would be for community members.
In your mission statement, your definition of where is it? Who belongs on Cape Cod? Can you explain that to me?
We think we all belong here.
I do too.
And
why is that in there, that you're going to define who belongs on Cape Cod?
we're not defining it. We're trying to expand the notion of who belongs on Cape Cod. And we have found through our community work and through our lives as community members that there are many systems in our community that are set up for those living or working within certain dominant cultures. And we want to create a space to amplify the voices and needs of those that are living and working outside of those dominant cultures.
So, and again, you talk in your mission statement about Black, Indigenous, people of color, lesbians, gays, and also financial people with financial needs. Is that going to be the main focus of your art?
No. Yeah, we see this project as fulfilling our mission because it is this space that is profoundly accessible to all community members. And so it's not the content of the art itself that's expressing our mission.
It's not, you know, I have nothing against any of those groups, you know, but other people do. And other people could find that offensive, and here it is in a historic district, okay?
That other people could find offensive that we're representing communities of color, or?
It's real life, okay? And it happens, you know, and it's going to be in Hyannis.
I mean, I understand that there are people in communities worldwide that get offended by all manners of things, but I'm finding it a little bit confusing and disturbing to want to say that we don't want to represent community members, like, of their basic identities.
I'm not saying that. I'm asking, is this the people you're going to identify on this with? Is this your communities that you want to represent? It's in your mission statement. Is that going to be on the art wall?
If community members choose to add to the art wall in a way that depicts their identities in various ways, that's kind of their prerogative. The wall includes free expression space. In terms of the professionally commissioned work, you know, we want to work with artists who will create something that is community unifying and representative of the folks that live here. I'm not sure if that's answering your question or if there's something I can clarify more deeply.
No, you answer it.
Ms. George, before you get down, one of our newer commissioners, I think it's your third meeting, has come up with, I think, something that might be helpful, and I'm going to actually pass it down to Commissioner Clark if you would like to add you all right? I have added a little notation on the side there and one extra one.
Because I'm a direct person, I think we are just dancing around it. Yeah, I mean, what happens if you come back and there's a cross and a picture of the Pope and it says choose life and there's, a rosary? How does that offend some and that is great for others? You know what I mean? What if we have a trans rights? That's going to offend some and that's going to be championed by others. Save women's sports, hot button topic. If you come back and there's an 8x8 that is against, letting marginalized members of the community play sports on either side, that's great for some, very offensive for others. It could be, thank you, Biden. It could be, thank you, Trump. Some people feel like one's great, one's not, but who really gets to police this? So I think instead of dancing around it, it might just be better to put some specific examples in place. I hope that helps.
And that's part of, I understand you feel the purview, but it's part of maintaining the character, and that it is the historical character, what the town of Barnstable has represented, with still allowing for growth. So just some things that, I think that's where, you're right, it's dancing around it, but it's a matter of.
I mean, I think the
clarifying.
JFK Museum's a great example. He's done a lot of great things, but, you know, some people like to talk about the pool parties at the White House and how he managed to stay awake for days on end. Want to go into that stuff?
Possibly not a matter for this commission.
I'm just saying, you could go either way with so many things. You know, it's a can of worms.
I saw a hand, I think. Would you like to come up, identify yourself? I say that because they can't hear you. This is a public meeting, and then you need, if you have, what you have to say is important, so you need to be heard,
Yeah,
even though
sure.
we might be able to hear you.
I'm Dave Kalo. I'm back again.
That's okay.
Here I am. I certainly hear what you're saying, but, you know, the famous quote, I don't like what you're saying, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. I mean, I live in Brewster, and there are political stickers on almost all the gas pumps that I don't like seeing, but I can't tell the person who put them up not to do it. So, you know.
But they also don't have to come before this commission.
No, they don't. There's no gas pump commission that I'm aware of.
This is a public library, and we have control over it.
I understand that I'm saying, but I guess what I'm just trying to say is, again, I might not agree what you're saying, but I'll defend your right to say it.
I say that to my grown-up children all the time. So
And I also would say that there is a difference between obscenity, hate speech, explicit content, and the expression of opinions that folks might disagree on. And I think, yes, there is some subjectivity there, there is some nuance there, but there's subjectivity and nuance with everything. And I think that, as Amanda shared previously, if we can give this project a chance, even a limited one, I think we will see together that many of these concerns are not going to come to pass.
I have another suggestion that might help. I'm sorry, Commissioner Despinal, please.
I was just going to say that I hope you're right. If we pass this, I want to be on your side. I want it, you know what I mean, but I'm very concerned, as we all should be. We don't want to, you know, open up that can of worms, right? But no, we want you to be right. Believe me, we do. Because it's a neat idea. We just got to be careful. You know, we can't just, especially in the historic district, we just really do. Doesn't mean we're going to say no. We're just working this out.
And we are trying to work this out with you.
You know, I think my biggest problem is I don't think this belongs in the historic society district. But as far as the timeline goes, and you're hearing everything that we're concerned about, and as Matt said, you know, there's so many topics. Some people can be offended, other people aren't going to be offended. I'd consider going from Memorial Day to Labor Day to see how it does.
Okay. How do you feel about that?
That works
Can't
for
hear
us.
a nod.
Sorry. Yeah, we're open to an amended timeline.
Okay. Okay. So,
May I again?
yep.
I don't have a problem with that either. I also think that helps us, and you guys get whatever kinks out of, you know, things that maybe none of us in this room is, you know, thinking about.
It's the busiest time of the year on
You know.
Main Street. So I think we'd get a good read, you know, of what's going on. But I think, again, this is going forward, and if it does get renewed after 3 months, I'd like a review process ongoing. Okay. So that's how I feel. Thank you.
Can I ask, when you were proposing to start this, let's say we approved it tonight and everything, and then I sign off on it, when were you proposing? I mean, you probably already have the first artist in mind, would be my guess. And when would they be proposing to start?
As soon as possible. I mean, this project has been kind of on the burner for a couple of years now, so we're sort of poised to get going as soon as we have approval to do so. We do have a tentative agreement to participate in the Hyannis Bids First Friday events, the first of which is the first Friday in June. So they would like this art wall to be part of that initiative, which will be every Friday throughout the summer, for us to have a designated, community paint day at the wall, not tentative for obvious reasons. And additionally, the Sturgis East High School's art department would like to participate with the kickoff of this wall. And so we're hoping to be able to initiate activity before the end of the school year.
But other schools' art departments are not forbidden. It's all, they're
Oh,
they're allowed
yeah,
to be-
everybody's absolutely
Okay.
welcome. And we would anticipate growing significantly our partnerships with arts education programs around the Cape. It's just that they're next door. So it's a very natural fit for their IB arts program there.
Commissioner Doherty, how would you feel about my amending that May 1
That's
to,
fine.
to 1 week after Labor Day? Let's
Fine with
get
me.
Labor Day over.
Yeah,
So
June
that's,
to Labor Day.
May 1,
May
May
1,
1 to
May 1.
1 week after Labor Day, just to get Labor Day over. Okay. See how this works? We kind of. Okay. We're being awful to Karen because we're making the amendments, but she's very good at keeping up on them. Okay. So is there anything, we have to go back to the things we've circled, but is there anything on here that was not addressed last time that needs to be addressed on here? And then we'll go back and we'll deal with the things that are circled. Nope.
No, I think it's fine. The only one we're leaving, wide open is the
Yeah.
obscenity, the hate speech and everything.
It's my concern as well.
That we'll all
Yeah.
watch. Okay.
So we don't want to be blamed for a riot. So thank you, Commissioner Clark, for bringing up that list. Okay, so number 1 is adjusted May 1 to Labor Day. And at that time, we'll decide if it's a year from them or 6 months or something like that. Conducted substantially in conformance with the application of materials provided in the Eastern Arts Tier. This is Commissioner Cronin with wanting them inside. Is that what you're proposing?
Yes, proposing to see if they could be done inside.
Okay.
If I may, point of order, if the art was to be inside, it wouldn't be under the commission's purview because your purview is
Correct.
exterior
That's
alterations
correct.
visible from the public way.
That is,
That's what I was just going to say.
that is correct.
Can I address that?
Sure.
The library is not set up to have something like this inside. It's street art with,
Yeah.
it just doesn't work. So that wouldn't be possible for us to do.
I think what you're trying to say is it's not an art gallery, it's a library. It's a library. And it is street art. I get it.
And
yeah.
also the aerosol nature of
Yeah.
it can create a hazardous condition indoor that isn't present outdoors.
I forgot it was aerosol. That's right. Okay. So
How do they, I did just question, it's 12 feet high, are there ladders out there? How do people get up there?
There are not, folks don't have to paint 12 feet high on the wall, but that's just the kind of extent of the wall that we're going to be covering with plywood, just to create a really wide berth so that the brick itself is not painted on.
There's sections, are there not?
That's correct.
How many sections in all?
4.
That's what I thought.
Is it possible just to keep on that theme of bringing it inside, reducing the size, and having more of an expressive of community art, an indoor community art program inside the library?
I mean, it wouldn't meet the need that this wall is trying to meet. So if there were like an expressive community arts indoor project, it would be something fundamentally different from what this is. So it would be a different project altogether.
I actually agree with that because libraries will sometimes do school displays and that type of thing, and that's what that would be, whereas what you're trying to do is a mural community wall, art wall.
Then that would be my concern, is having them all, having a mural approved without approval of content.
Well, we're limiting the content, and we're trying to keep as much as possible, and it's coming under they've agreed to a very strict review process. And, they're only going to get one shot at it, because if come a week after Labor Day, there's complaints and it hasn't worked out, then it doesn't get reapproved. But hopefully it'll be such that we like what's happened, and it'll get a further approval. That's the hope. And I think that's all well understood, that it's because we do have some concerns that I think that we have definitely expressed. And I think it's understood and respected both ways. Yeah.
If we come across problems, and hopefully we don't, who do we talk to, and then what happens? Do we at that point, do we take it down, or?
Well, it depends. We call Karen, and Karen contacts Ms. George, and we have the right to say, we need you on the next commission meeting, and we meet every 2 weeks, because we are concerned about the content of that. I think I'm the one that put that one in there.
Okay.
So I wanted to have a checks and balances that could be dealt with within a maximum 2-week period.
Okay, I missed that.
So
Right.
if there's a, excuse me, if there's a complaint, they wait 2 weeks to come before us instead of addressing it right away?
Well, we put it at the next meeting, or we'd let them know there's a complaint. Can you address it beforehand? And at the next meeting, tell us how you've addressed it.
But they don't have to wait for us to address it, as my question.
Address it, they're going to address it.
Yeah, I want to reiterate that in our guidelines for this project, that we'll be monitoring the wall on a daily basis for any objectionable content, which I feel like we're getting close to a place of having a mutual understanding of what that is. So we will be addressing it, and our volunteers, on a daily basis. But if there is an official capacity with which we want to address what's going on in the wall, we will make ourselves available, within any given cycle of the commission's meeting schedule to address that in an official capacity, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the wood panels, I think, community outreach shall be conducted substantially conform. So that, I think, we're, at least for that time frame, okay with. And we've changed that. We had one other one. We're changing applicant to cordial eye. We're adding in obscenity, hate speech, explicit content, insulting, get rid of this person, yeah.
We could say defamatory speech.
Defamatory, good word, thank you.
Who said that? You should be up here.
Yeah, I know, I was just thinking the same thing.
Are we going to add whatever is obscene to anybody? Like, what if somebody complains about?
Oh,
What
yeah,
if somebody
you have to put your mic
complains?
on, yeah.
About anything? If there's a complaint,
Yeah,
if it's not obscene or hate speech, if it's something else that somebody doesn't agree with.
See, this is where it's getting very slippery,
you're going to go to the SCC guidelines for the explicit content, and that will be included in the requirements.
But with all due respect, there are things that the SEC lets through right now that you don't necessarily would like to see. So I think that's kind of where we're trying to provide as much free speech as we can, but I'm not hearing anything other than just, following with somebody else's guidelines rather than a community's point of view or a community's response. It may not be any one of those categories, but someone could just say, that doesn't look like it belongs. Because it's not just if it was children, I think you might have a different perspective of seeing a wall like that, because their content is going to be from the child's view, and that's, pretty pretty innocent. That's the word I was looking for. But when you're letting others in on it, that makes it a little bit hard. And we can't define every single thing. I mean, we just don't want to have to make a mistake because we don't have that control over it, and it isn't historic. So I think having any age group at any time, and again, that's discouraged but not prohibited, discouraged from making the art at night. But I guess the true community, if we wanted to see this as a test, would be for the kids and seeing their view on the wall and allowing them that access, because they don't have that access at night or anything else. They have it, and their world is innocent, and it is a different perspective. So there's no way we can possibly put any conditions on what someone might find offensive or would like to have come down, and it's going to be subjective, and it's not going to be very.
Yeah, so then what are we doing?
Right, and that's my concern right now. I want to be able to find something we can move through.
Find, certain things offensive. You go into abortion. That's another whole issue. Today, we could go on and on and on.
Matt actually, or Commissioner Clark, excuse me, actually did put that on pro-life
whatever
issues.
not.
Was on one of yours, was it not?
Well, I mean, just as an example that, yeah, I want to, brought up kind of off the top of my head, just sitting here, you could just keep going and going. And I mean, not to bring up ancient history, I've been on this side of the table. I was the director of the Provincetown Public Library for 6 years. That's the Wild West of the East out there. You think anything goes. And we pulled some projects off like this, but we had to come up to the commission, and I'm not trying to create a make-work project, but these even out there, we needed 10, 20, 30 pages of guidelines on what we were going to do. I mean, down to the color, the subject matter, everything, for events, for installations, for, different projects we were working on. So I don't want to seem like I'm coming down hard. I'm coming from a place of experience and just kind of knowing what it takes to do something like this in a manner that's going to kind of protect all of the stakeholders and the community and visitors to that community. So just wanted to bring that point forward as well.
You look like you have something to say.
Thank you. And, whoever spoke is much taller than me. I really am thankful that you're all taking this time with us, because we do want this to be, co-created with our community, something that feels good for us. This project was brought to us, proposed to us, asked, requested by children. Children asked us for this so that they could see themselves in this community that they call home. Mary and I both have young children. This is at the foremost of our concerns, okay? We work here downtown. We're here every day. The library is here every day. The executive director of the Play Oasis, a space specifically for children, is really excited. She's excited for this. We think about our children all day, every day. I taught in our public schools for almost 10 years and left the public schools so that I could create a community space for our kids for when they're gone, for when they graduate, The ephemeral nature of this project, some things will come up and they will just as quickly come back down. Whether that's us with our stencils or someone else going, that's not for me. So I think, Will and Dave, you've been in these community wall spaces. Sometimes something is up for as long as 5 minutes. We have all of these safeguards in place. We share all of these same concerns. That's why this is a pilot.
Okay.
So
Thank
that's
you very much.
That's it. Thank you.
Would you consider just doing it to children and limiting it for this pilot at the high school? You have the high school, all the way up to high school aged contributors.
Again, we feel that that really adjusts the nature of what this project is supposed to be. And I think that, you know, again, we're going to great lengths to try to put guidelines in place that put as much control, like far more control than are over this type of walls in other locations where they exist. At Monica Way in Cambridge, it's like a free-for-all, and you still don't see this kind of content there. So we're putting really extreme measures as far as this type of project goes in terms of controlling it, keeping it safe for the community. But we do want to keep the spirit of what this project is, which is a place of expression for our full community, and a place of respect and trust for those community members as well. And, you know, we are willing to amend our initial proposal if we are wrong about that. We don't think we are, but we're willing to amend the timeline. We're willing to put additional guidelines in place. But we are just asking for a chance to see what could be here in this community with a little bit of faith.
Thank you. I agree, it is a community project, and as such, limiting it would not make it the entire community. And I think we all, on both sides of this podium, respect that, you know, we're taking a leap here, but I think we all realize some of the things that are of concern, and that's why we've kind of tightened it and lessened it so that we can problem solve to things that we're not thinking of now. And I appreciate you're just asking for a chance. What, if there's nothing more, what I am hopeful to do, unless anyone else has anything pressing, because I think we've all expressed, I think the same things have been expressed several times. If anyone feels there's anything more to be done, if not, I'm going to close public comment. We okay with that? So I am going to close public comment, and I am going to, and Karen, have you gotten all the amendments? I hope so. If not, I'll be happy to compare it with my scribble. And
If I may, Chair,
Sure.
can we just read in the amendment? It seems like we've
Yes,
gone
please.
around on the
Yes,
amendments,
please.
just when you're doing the motion.
Karen and I will,
just
yes.
If we can just read if we can just reflect on the amendments
Excellent.
with the motion, just so everyone's on the same page.
Excellent. Thank you.
Exactly what's changing to the draft conditions, so we have it for the record.
Perfect, and I appreciate you doing that.
Of course.
Oh, sorry, I thought you had written them down.
Oh, I apologize. I have notes, but
Okay.
I'm not sure what the
Okay.
commission.
So I will go through. Karen, you want to see if mine match yours, and let me know if I've missed any and you missed any. And commissioners, if there's any that I have missed, please let me know. We're changing the 1 year to, this will be for a time frame of May 1 to 1 week after Labor Day. Let them clear Labor Day by 1 week. And, or we can say the weekend after, the weekend after Labor Day, or a week after Labor Day, put it there, 1 week. That's what we went through. And then that will come back for review. And it can come back for review even before then, if things are going really well, like the one before Labor Day, to get that extension. It shall be, as the second one, that will remain the same. Art wall installed, wood panels shall be removable, that's the same. Excess materials stored at 438 Main Street, that's the same. We are changing applicant, starting at that next one, to cordial eye, shall monitor. That you will obtain, before starting the project, that there's still an agreement with what's here, that the bid will agree to assist in monitoring and maintenance of the community art wall, because they're not, simply because they're not here and we don't have anything in writing from them. I'm kind of careful about obligating somebody who hasn't had a chance to say, oh yes, I'll do that.
Madam Chair, on the one before, you said, we said that on a daily basis instead of an ongoing basis?
Yes,
Which one was that?
the one beforehand.
The one before that? The cordial eye shall monitor and maintain the community art wall on a daily basis.
You
It
all right
says
with that?
ongoing right now.
Okay. Good point. I think that was stated. Daily, yes, please. Community art wall shall have security lighting and cameras on site. Cordial eye monitor the wall for obscenity, hate speech, explicit content, defamatory speech, political posturing, stroke, invitation for voting. How do you want to phrase that?
I don't think you can, again, I
You
don't
can't-
think you can do it. I
you
don't
can't.
think we should put anything specific in there.
And allow people to use it to say, vote for me, that kind of thing.
But that's different than
Yeah.
what our concerns are.
So let's put advertising,
I was going to say, could we say no advertisements?
no advertising. Okay.
That wouldn't be my concern.
Of any sort.
Political or otherwise.
Okay, but that's not my concern.
Political or otherwise, I like that. So no advertising, political or otherwise. That the cordial eye, stencils on site to cover up unwanted content. Said stencils shall be in the form of, we had before sailboat, anchor, lighthouse, and the like. That the site shall be maintained for trash and debris, cleanup daily at a minimum. That upon, what have I got here? Complaints received by residents of the town of Barnstable, not by the town, by residents of the town of Barnstable, the chair, and then the rest of that is as it is. Wall utilized for the project shall be restored to its original form upon expiration of this decision. Any changes to the, unless another permit is requested and extended, okay? Because it could be we love it at the end and they want to continue, we'll give them another 6 months, right? Where am I here? Complaints at the wall, the original form, any changes there shall come back, okay. That any changes to the community wall program shall come back before the commission to determine whether a modification of the decision is required or to tighten it. Have I missed any? Oh, and do we want to include Commissioner Clark's list that he made up? Shall not include anything on those or not? Not? Okay.
No, I don't think so, because
Okay.
it's too,
Okay, gotcha. Okay, fair. I just wanted to ask. He took the time to write it out, so I pay respect to that.
I didn't take the time, I took 3 seconds to give an example of how.
3 seconds is time.
Come up with,
Okay.
Just repeat the last one.
Yes, of course. Any changes to the Community Art Well Program project shall come back before the commission to determine whether a modification of the decision is required or to tighten. And that actually marries in with the 1, 2 above it. Those two, in fact, we might want to merge those 2 into 1, where they come back, and then that they can come back to modify. Kate, anything you think that I missed there?
That captures everything that I had drafted.
Karen, is that everything you had?
Yeah, and I'll send you a draft too after.
Okay, excellent.
Could you send that out to us? Or just-
Absolutely. And with an invitation to please comment back. Okay? All right. And to relay those through Karen, the comments. Is that all right, Karen?
Yeah, that's
Okay. All right. Everybody happy? Okay. So, would one of the commissioners like to make a motion on the findings? Okay.
we're all sketchy.
Well, I think we've made it clear that we have some reservations.
We have.
And,
It's fine.
and I appreciate your working with us to try to find what we think is a manageable compromise. Thank you.
All right, so I'll do it then.
Okay, thank you.
I move that the commission find this application to be compatible with the preservation and protection of the district.
With the
with-
amendments
With
that
the
we have
amendments to the
made.
conditions for consideration.
Okay, and this is with regards to
To-
Cordial Eye, Hyannis Public Library, 401 Main Street, Hyannis, map 326, parcel 013. Thank you for letting
Thank
me
you.
add that.
Yes, absolutely.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote. Go from this end of the table. Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Despotopoulos?
Aye.
I'll go to the far end. Commissioner Doherty?
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Hinckley Needham?
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin? You vote vote how you feel. It's up to you. You can also you abstain, whatever. I'll abstain. That's fine, and I respect that.
I'll abstain.
Okay, thank you. And I respect that. I always insist that people vote how they feel, not to feel coerced. That's why I always vote last. I am going to say aye. Okay, would a commissioner like to make a motion for the certificate of appropriateness? You do it so well.
I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 401 Main Street, Hyannis, map 326, parcel 013, as described in the submitted materials with the amendments and the conditions for consideration.
Excellent.
Like I've done
Second.
that before.
Seconded by Commissioner Hinckley Needham. Okay. Oh, Jen. Let's go from this end of the table. Commissioner Doherty.
Aye.
Commissioner Hinckley Needham.
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin.
Abstain.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Despotopoulos.
Aye.
I also say aye. Congratulations and good luck. Keep it clean.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We hope to see you out at the art wall this summer.
You will. I might bring my daughter. She's the artist.
We would love to meet her.
Okay. And thank you, everyone, for coming and for your contributions. All right, so I don't believe we have any matters not reasonably anticipated, unless anyone has any. Approval of the March 1st minutes. Everybody read them?
Yes, I did.
Anyone have, oh, I'm sorry. Anyone have want to make a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll motion to accept them.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Doherty.
Aye.
So Commissioner Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty, Despotopoulos,
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty,
Aye.
Commissioner Hinckley Needham,
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin.
Aye.
I also say aye. So approval of the April 5th, 2023 minutes. Would a commissioner like to make a motion that we accept those?
I make a motion, we approve the April 5th, 2023 minutes.
I'll second.
Okay. Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Despotopoulos?
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty?
Aye.
Commissioner Hinckley Needham?
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin?
Aye.
I also say aye. Thank you, everyone. This was not an easy one.
I don't know what we did here today. I don't know if it's good or bad.
I don't know.
What was that?
I don't know. I'm gonna be there every day. I'm dying.
Sorry.
I didn't.
It's a learning curve.
But because I didn't realize that it has to be unanimous.
No, it doesn't.
The
way this
for an
com-
item to pass, it's a majority vote of the commission present and voting. So with the six,
That's not on this, this commission is slightly different. It has to be four. We've come into that before. Most of the committees, it's a majority vote. With ours, it reads four.
I apologize, correct, majority of the full commission, you're correct. So, but 4 members.
Yes.
You mean
More than 4
if
members
this thing
did
doesn't
vote
turn
on
out
this.
right, we don't like it, we're down there.
We
can-
bring them back in.
We can stop it. We can,
Yeah.
but we can stop it.
And-
It won't go to Labor Day.
And Commissioner Doherty's going to be checking it every day.
Oh, absolutely. No,
Remember, we are on camera, and we have made a decision, and we do not want to Sorry, I don't wish to wrap knuckles. I have to keep us clean. No, you have to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'm so sorry. Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sorry.
That's all right. Commissioner Kernan, would you want to adjourn?
Yes, I. Motion to, second.
You've already got that. Yeah, the answer is yes or no?
Aye, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Hinckley.
So sorry.
Aye.
Sorry, don't worry about it. Oh, we did it and we had a second. Commissioner Kernan made the motion.
Okay.
Commissioner Doherty?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Abstain. Aye.
Commissioner Desperado?
Aye.
I also say aye. Thank you very much.
Are the cameras off yet?
Karen?